Hello everybody, this is Shani, and this is my first video log. I will do a series, I'm going to call them daily musings, daily thoughts, I don't know. I feel every day there's something interesting that comes up for me and for the people around me in life, and that can is always indicative of the progression that I'm making and where things are working and what things are being worked out, and how to do that, and that somehow life is gently, not sometimes always so gently, but as gently as possible, easing us and nudging us in the way that corresponds to what we want and our dreams that we're hoping to realize, hoping and getting ready to manifest. In this present moment, today, the subject that comes to mind and at hand is one that I hold dear at heart, the subject of self-care and generosity. For many of us, we're brought up with either one of two ways of functioning. One is this survival mechanism of taking care only of yourself. This what many people, industrial civilization, fear as being the individualization, the egotistic kind of self-preservation mode that is a bit really just a survival mechanism, a little bit greedy, a little bit fearful of opening up and being generous to others, because of basically a desire for their own survival, their own thriving, and a deep fear that people will just take advantage or not care, or just basically take. The other side of the spectrum is like many of us, myself and many, have been brought up on the contrary, to just completely put ourselves aside and take care of others as being a proof of our own worth, our own value, seeing the joy and the love that is reflected back to us from the people that we are able to give for a moment, a bit of love and attention. It can be an enormous reward. At the same time, it's also just in many ways another type of survival mechanism, a survival mechanism that is more maybe socially accepted in many ways, but either way we're often looking to be reflected back our own value, our own self of worth, our doubts about the quality of our love or our offerings is in question, and so having it turned back towards us from somebody in the exterior seems like a good enough reward at that moment. The real question here is how to be generous without forgetting ourselves, without depleting ourselves. I think that the best analogy I've encountered in my research and my own interests in finding a balance and in finding a real of something that could be sustainably real in a lifetime has been the analogy of a tree. A tree to me is an organism that is perfectly symbolic of what we can be. First of all, it is rooted in the earth. That means that it knows that for it to grow and eventually come to the point of really being fruitful and having its own fruits come forth, and that wonderful ability to share these fruits of a tree, if you will, a fruit tree in this case. First, you have to have your own roots. The tree has to have roots. It has to go into the ground, into the earth, and nourish itself. Without its rootedness, without its ability, and its nature, its primordial nature to care for itself first, it's impossible for it to eventually be fruitful and to share those fruits. At the same time, you have to understand that the tree's fruits, it may be seem generous to the animals, to the environment that receives it, that partakes in its fruits, but really it's doing it for its own machinations, its own devices, which is its own continuation, its own reproduction, and its continual flourishment through the fruits themselves. You have no control as to what fruits will flourish and which fruits won't, but in deep down there's a sharing of potential that is still part of the tree's own hopes and desires. Okay, the environment will share in it, the environment will benefit from it, but really it is for its own desires, its own fulfillment. At the same time, I return to its roots and its leaves, where it captures the sunlight and transforms it into its own energy, where it takes its roots and goes deeper and deeper into the earth that has helped to create it, and it nourishes itself first. It's very basic. Unfortunately, I find that most people in my world, in my environment, are mostly depleted, are lacking in their own nourishment and what their own needs are, and doing what I call beggar's love. Beggar's love is the love of an empty hand, okay, who has not filled its own heart, its own cup with the love of itself, to be able then to share and overflow that love onto its environment like the fruits of a tree. Instead, the cup is still empty, or partly empty, and it gives love to another in hopes to receive back the love. Deep down, I feel it symbolizes, it's a perfect symbol for the fact that the same love is just being passed around, okay, and just cannot be as fulfilling as a love that overflows. I call it beggar's love. It's like, I'll give you some attention, some love, and now I'm really hoping that you're going to do it for me now, because now I'm empty, I'm lacking. I gave you what I had, which wasn't really overflowing. It wasn't at all. It was just enough, maybe for me, but I'm hoping to get more by giving it away, and then hoping somebody pays it back. The thing is that none of this is really sustainable, because that entails that the people that you are doing this trade-off with, first of all, will be able to give it back to you. They might not be able, they might not have the ability to really give it back afterwards. Maybe they really needed it so much and now that's it, there's nothing more. Basically, some people are so empty that it's like an endless well at this moment. It's not going to stay that way, I believe. I really believe that we all regain back that love, whether we do it consciously or not. Eventually it happens, but I feel that the best love is the love that is overflowing from you. How does that happen, though? How do you overflow love? Most of the time it means loving yourself. When I look at myself in this video, okay, there's much I could maybe in a depleted way, if I was in a past incarnation of my life where I had so much doubt and so much uncertainty about my lovableness and my lovingness, that maybe you would sense how much I doubt my love for myself. But now I don't. I actually like myself. I actually love myself. I look at myself and I know my strengths. I also know my weaknesses, but that doesn't reduce my value in my own eyes. Okay, it just indicates things that I am going to go past one day, and this is just a moment like any other. It will pass, but I have the opportunity, the more I exercise that self-love, to not feel like I'm vulnerable if I give the love afterwards, because my love will be overflowing. It's not something that I could lose now, because I just give. If I give, and maybe that person cannot give back, it's okay. I love myself enough that it's okay. I understand. And the truth is that most people are not in a position to love, really. Themselves first, and certainly not others. Okay? Not fully. We love people because we admire them. We love people because they remind us of something in ourselves. But unconditional love, love that springs forth out of this full heart of generosity, accepts people as they are, even if they are not so lovable. It's easy to love a lovable person. To love unconditionally comes from a heart that has taken care of itself and therefore does not need others to be different to be loved. So today let's celebrate unconditional loving of yourself. First of all, you're worth it. Please do. Fall, break, look funny, mud in the eye, love yourself. And little by little, you will fill this heart of yours to the overflow. And nobody could ever take that away from you. Your center will be so strong that it is an emanating light that will brighten any dark spot, because that love is unconditional. It does not depend on other people's actions, on the exterior momentary manifestation. Love is eternal because it is a force in the universe. It is a law, like the forces of gravity, the forces of momentum, the forces of electrical magnetism. All of these forces exist, and love is one of them. We just gave it a name. It's called love. It may sound sappy. It may be related to other types of concepts that we have about love, but the truth is that it is really a force. And the more I accept it inside me, the more I accept that love also loves me as is, as an imperfect perfection, the less I depend on others to be different for me to love them. To be generous is to be loved. To be loved is to be loved by thyself first. Nourish your heart. Give unconditionally. But first to yourself. You are as important a representative of the universe as any other. Be well, my fellow humans.